Breaking news this Wednesday night, a terror plot targeting Taylor Swift concerts foiled. The reaction from fans.
We should be able to go to concerts safely.
And the consequences. WestJet's legal turbulence. The new lawsuit against the airline over compensation for customers.
If the law says the airline has to pay them, they have to pay.
What it could mean for some travelers. A surging wave of optimism.
The whole dynamic is different.
The fresh energy and enthusiasm among Democrats and how Republicans are reacting. Plus, medals, money, and more.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. It felt terrible.
What it costs Canadian Olympians who miss the podium.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Carolyn Jarvis.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with a breaking story in Europe. Taylor Swift has canceled 3 of her upcoming shows in Austria over an alleged terror plot in Vienna. The sold-out concerts were supposed to begin tomorrow, with some 65,000 people expected to attend each night. Organizers pulled the plug after Austrian police announced 2 arrests in connection with a planned attack at the stadium. It's disappointing for concertgoers, including this Canadian Swiftie who had tickets.
We should be able to go to concerts safely. We should be able to live our life safely, no matter where in the world we live. And today, I think a lot of people are feeling that a bit shattered and threatened.
The suspects are said to have become radicalized over the internet, with at least one making an oath of allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. Police say they uncovered chemical substances at one of the suspects' homes. In this country, another foiled terror plot has the Conservatives demanding answers. They're calling for an investigation into a father and son who immigrated to Canada and are now facing multiple terrorism-related offenses after they were arrested last month. It's alleged they were also planning a terrorist attack for the so-called Islamic State. Mackenzie Gray joins us now. Mackenzie, Trudeau's Liberal government responded to this case for the first time today. What did they have to say?
Well, the minister in charge, Carolyn, Dominic LeBlanc, said he met with both the head of CSIS and the RCMP yesterday to get more details on how someone who allegedly participated in aggravated assault on an ISIS prisoner in 2015 was able to immigrate to Canada.
The internal reviews in terms of the security screening process with the Department of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship are ongoing.
The review is about 62-year-old Ahmed Eldidi and his son Mostafa Eldidi, who's 26, both arrested on July 28th in a Toronto area hotel room on numerous charges, including terrorism-related offenses. Police alleging the pair were in the advanced stages of planning a terrorist attack in Toronto and had filmed a video of themselves holding weapons in front of an ISIS flag. LeBlanc still trying to figure out all the details.
It might be interesting to know when that information came to light and when that information was in the hands of which decision maker.
An excellent question that the government so far has refused to answer, citing privacy reasons and the pending court case. But here's what we do know so far. National security sources tell Global News that in 2015, Ahmed Eldidi allegedly appeared in a video released by ISIS that shows a man dismembering a prisoner with a sword that took place overseas. Global News has seen what is believed to be the video, but is choosing not to show it due to its graphic nature. After this video, the elder Eldidi immigrated to Canada and eventually obtained citizenship. But the government has not said how, when, or why he was admitted. It wasn't until 9 years later, this summer, that police became aware of the elder Eldidi.
Was he on your radar at all before the beginning of July?
No, sir.
Weeks later, both Eldidis were arrested. The RCMP broke up the alleged Canadian terrorism plot, and the father was charged with aggravated assault, in part related to the 2015 ISIS video. While the allegations have not been proven in court, Carolyn, both the NDP and Conservatives are asking how Eldidi was admitted to Canada and why he was not on law enforcement's radar sooner.
Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thank you. Canada's second largest airline is facing a major lawsuit. A passenger rights group is taking WestJet to BC Supreme Court over the compensation it offers when travelers are forced to pay out of pocket for food and hotel stays. It's demanding the airline remove guidelines that put a cap on expenses. Heidi Petracek reports on what it could mean for passengers who feel shortchanged.
It was just delay after delay.
Damage from Monday's hailstorm canceled dozens of WestJet flights to and from Calgary, leaving travelers in the lurch.
Now we're trying to get home. We don't have any clothes. apparently you can't find a rental car or a place to stay.
But this chaos isn't the only trouble WestJet is up against.
If the law says the airline has to pay them, they have to pay.
Regulations require airlines to pay for hotels and meals when travelers are stuck, as long as the situation is within an airline's control. Those rules don't set limits on reimbursement, which is why advocacy group Air Passenger Rights says it's taking WestJet to court for posting information on its website, capping reimbursement at $150 a night for hotels and $45 a day per person for meals.
This peanuts that WestJet is trying to impose on passengers contrary to the law are uncomparable to what actually the law prescribes.
The group's notice of claim in BC Supreme Court says WestJet's guidelines have the capacity, tendency, or effect of deceiving or misleading passengers about their legal entitlements.
The allegations in the claim haven't been tested in court, and WestJet has 21 days to file its response. When we asked the airline for an interview, a representative said the company won't be commenting while the matter is before the courts.
The group wants WestJet to pay out the difference to customers affected who traveled on or after August 3rd of 2022.
Just on the face of it, it would appear that they have a pretty good position and that WestJet will need to respond to that and respond in a way that will convince the courts.
Give the people their money. Give everything back.
Meals and incidentals should already be covered, 100%.
Some travelers already arriving at their own judgments long before the court does. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
Boeing Canada is investing $61 million in British Columbia's aerospace sector. It's part of a multi-billion-dollar deal with Ottawa to buy new military surveillance planes. The company says it plans to spend $48 million of that building research and development capacity at its Vancouver facility. For a second day, Boeing representatives were grilled in the U.S., facing questions from the National Transportation Safety Board. As Eric Sorensen explains, major lapses have revealed a clear disconnect between Boeing executives and those working on the factory floor.
The Alaska Airlines flight from Portland, Oregon last January was like any other, still climbing until a door plug on the Boeing 737 blew out at 16,000 feet.
Who's responsible for identifying hazards?
For a second day, the U.S. Transportation Safety Board tried to get to the bottom of how it could happen. The door plug was removed last September to fix rivets, but bolts to secure the panel were not replaced. 4 months later, it was just luck that none of the 171 passengers was sitting next to the high-altitude blowout.
This isn't a PR campaign for Boeing. What we want to know is what happened.
Boeing says it is redesigning the door plug so they can't simply be closed up improperly.
Some design changes that will allow the plug to not be closed if there's any issue until it's firmly secure, that would hold it securely in.
But the NTSB also found repairs weren't properly documented and a culture that put pressure on workers to work faster.
They basically focus on economics, on cost containment, cost control, and speed of the production line. And quality and engineering and zero defects basically got pushed to the back burners.
Boeing's brand and reputation have taken one hit after another, from the devastating crashes of Boeing MAX 8 aircraft in Indonesia and a few months later in Ethiopia, caused by flawed flight control software,
and liftoff of Starliner at Atlas V.
To Boeing's Starliner spacecraft with helium leaks that have left 2 astronauts stranded aboard the International Space Station for 2 months.
We are actually doing thruster testing as we speak.
One of just 2 major airplane manufacturers in the world, Boeing must restore public confidence in its quality control, says John Graddick.
Return to its roots in engineering and quality, and make sure that they've gained the trust of their clients and the traveling public.
In short, rebuilding trust starts with making trustworthy aircraft. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and her Democratic running mate Tim Walz are hitting the campaign trail in full force. A pair many say is bringing a revitalized message to voters. As Jackson Proskauer reports, that newfound enthusiasm seems to be translating in the polls.
Something has awoken in the Democratic Party. This was the line to get into a Kamala Harris rally in Wisconsin Wednesday.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin!
Her first full day barnstorming the country with running mate Tim Walz.
Do we
It's a seismic shift from Joe Biden, who drew modest crowds and little enthusiasm before dropping out. Today's Democrats couldn't be happier. Just ask the woman who urged her party to change course. How does it feel like the overall race has changed in the past 2 weeks?
Well, it's, the whole dynamic is different. My daughter was at the rally last night in Philadelphia, and she said it was just explosive. Young people, everyone just so happy.
Does it feel like a winning campaign?
Oh, we have to win. There's no question.
The latest polls show Harris with a 3-point lead over Donald Trump nationally. Among independent voters, her advantage rises to 9%. Compare that to Joe Biden, who had been running 4 points behind Trump with independents.
So probably a closer race, more exciting race, but still a race for Trump to lose.
Yet this is clearly not the race Trump wanted.
The honeymoon for Kamala Harris, it must drive you crazy because it's still going on.
It does. He's largely staying off the campaign trail and has dispatched his VP pick, J.D. Vance, to follow Harris across the country. In Wisconsin, Vance's campaign plane crossed paths with Harris's vice presidential Air Force Two.
One, just get a good look at the plane, because hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months.
90 days out from Election Day, enthusiasm may be what matters most. After months of lagging, Democrats suddenly feel like their historic reset has given them an edge, if they can keep the momentum going.
And then they have to fight for those people who still haven't made up their minds.
Harris's campaign claims to have raised more than $36 million in the hours following the announcement of Walz as her running mate. She's now outpacing Trump in terms of campaign donations, despite only being in the race for a couple of weeks. Carolyn?
Jackson Porosco in Washington, thank you. To the Paris Olympics now, where Canada has vaulted onto the podium. London, Ontario's Alicia Newman set a national record with that jump to win bronze in women's pole vault. She's the first Canadian ever to medal in the event. Canada's women's beach volleyball team is one win away from this country's first Olympic medal in that event. Today, Canada beat Spain in straight sets to advance to the semi-final. The Toronto duo will play Switzerland Thursday for a chance at gold. The thrill of becoming an Olympic champion is still sinking in for Canadian Cameron Rogers, who won gold in women's hammer throw yesterday.
And I saw it fly, and I kind of took a step back, and I was like, okay, that was it. We did it. I definitely know that if anything, it'll be the first of many. We have so many incredible athletes who are part of our team who are going to make waves in these last few days of the games, and I'm excited to cheer everyone on.
The 25-year-old from Richmond, BC, is the first ever Canadian woman to medal in the hammer throw in the history of the Olympics. But it was a tough day on the track for Mo Ahmed. He tripped and fell near the end of his heat in the men's 5,000-meter race, and his appeal to be reinstated in the final was denied. That means Ahmed will leave Paris without a medal. While competing at the Games is a huge accomplishment, missing the podium is about more than losing an Olympic medal. Find out why coming up. Also, a terrifying fire at a construction site in Vancouver. That's next. A dramatic scene in Vancouver late Tuesday as a fire ripped through a building that was under construction, causing a crane to come crashing onto the street below. As Emily Lazatin reports, incredibly, no one was injured.
The startling moment when a crane collapses into flames, taking down power lines and trolley wires as it crashes down on a home.
It was pretty scary all around.
The fire erupted Tuesday evening at a 6-story apartment building under construction in Vancouver. No one was seriously injured.
It actually landed on a house, in the middle of a house, and an individual was trapped inside that house. Between our firefighters and VPD, we extricated that patient from a window.
With embers flying in all directions, residents jumped into action.
A lot of people right here in the immediate vicinity were out with garden hoses on their roofs, and because the chunks were coming down.
And when locals thought it was all under control, it wasn't. Early Wednesday, Allison Burgess woke up.
The firemen yelling, "Fire, fire," repeatedly. So I came downstairs and I saw him running down the street here, getting his truck to turn down the street to make sure that the house that was fully ablaze 4 houses down from me was getting the attention that it needed.
She's talking about this. The residents could not be saved. Massive embers are littered throughout the streets and around homes near the main site of the fire. Chunks this big. And it's because of this that's caused damage to at least 7 other homes in the area. The aftermath in daylight, crews dousing hot spots and cleanup from the ground up.
Afterwards, I was like, this feels post-apocalyptic.
The building will need to be demolished, and with no power in the immediate area, some businesses remain closed. Emily Lazatin, Global News, Vancouver.
Ahead, the emotional journey to see Jasper's fire damage firsthand. Russia says it has stopped a Ukrainian incursion, an attack believed to be the largest in Russia since the full-scale war began in 2022. Russia released video claiming to show strikes against Ukrainian forces near a natural gas transmission hub in the Kursk region. At least 31 Russians were injured in the rare cross-border attack. Russian President Vladimir Putin called the assault a large-scale provocation. Ukraine has not acknowledged if any operation is underway. Anxious evacuees from Jasper are surveying their fire-ravaged community. With a wildfire raging nearby, carefully controlled bus tours have been set up so people can view the damage. It's a grim process, but many residents are keen to return and rebuild. Heather Yurix West reports.
This is my block.
On the first bus tour for Jasper evacuees, longtime resident Stephen Nelson tried to document everything he saw.
There was a feeling of awe, but there was a feeling of dread. But I think because we were in the bus, and that almost felt like we were shielded from the worst of it.
Since Monday, the 2-hour-long tours have been offered to anyone who calls Jasper home.
My end of town was just complete devastation. It looked like the kind of film footage you see from war zones.
Okay, there it is, or there it was. Pine Grove Manor.
It was the seniors complex that both men called home.
So glad I put all my stuff in there on Sunday.
Gone along with so many other places that held so much meaning, like the St. Mary and St. George Anglican Church.
Visited by Queen Elizabeth in 2005, gone as if it never existed. To be there and see that was the hardest part.
A plan for return is in the works, but officials say re-entry won't be possible until the fire risk is gone and critical services are restored.
I love the mountains. I love Jasper. I really feel I'm meant to be back there.
But for Conrad Cote, the tour was also a way to say goodbye to a life divided by a single event and a home now forever changed. Heather Yurix West, Global News, Calgary.
So close, yet so far. Next, a shout out to the Canadians who narrowly missed the podium in Paris. At the Olympics, the difference between making the podium and making the also-ran list can be a fraction of a second or a millimeter in a race. And at no ranking might it sting more than fourth. One step from medaling, but a chasm away from lucrative sponsorship deals and notoriety. Still, as Redmond Shannon reports, being fourth in the world is an achievement worth celebrating.
When Eleanor Harvey earned bronze, her phone blew up.
I've been getting like a ton of messages from people in Hamilton being like, yeah, like represent Hamilton.
Alongside that attention for a top 3 finish comes funding. The Canadian Olympic Committee's Athlete Excellence Fund is worth $10,000 to $20,000 to each medalist.
But when athletes finish fourth, as many Canadians have here in Paris, their phones don't buzz as much, and the rewards for all their hard work can be harder to come by.
The women's 3-on-3 basketball team led Germany in their semi-final and the US in the bronze match, but lost to both narrowly.
It feels like you lose a medal 2 times because you lose in the semis and then you lose in the bronze. So there's no way to sugarcoat it. It felt terrible. We came here with, the podium finish in mind. So it was heartbreaking for us to come up short.
Mo Ahmed said he left it all out there in the 10K run, a third of a second behind bronze.
The fight for third is real in my event.
Diver Kaylee Mackay has now finished fourth 3 times across 2 Olympics.
I literally have no regrets. I have nothing I would have changed, nothing I would have fixed or done better. We're not like the richest athletes in the world as amateur athletes. We don't get paid a whole lot, so any prize money really makes a difference. So unfortunately, I won't be getting any.
It is striking, it is devastating, and it doesn't go away easily.
But Canadian Olympic medalist Angela Schneider says most athletes have a deeper motivation.
You can see that some of them just love what they're doing and believe in themselves. And that's a wonderful thing. And that's what sport's about, right? That is what we should be celebrating.
And ultimately, those who know the athletes best know their true worth. Redmond Shannon, Global News, Paris.
Canada added 1 bronze medal to its tally today, bringing its total to 19, including 6 golds. The United States still leads the pack after 12 days in both gold and total medals. And that is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. Tonight's Your Canada is Vancouver, where the iconic Kitts Pool finally reopened to the public after extensive repairs. Swimmers were quick to get in their laps on opening day after being closed since 2022 from damage at a major storm. It's the longest outdoor swimming pool in North America and attracts more than 120,000 visitors a year. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow.